Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host, Clayton, and we're here to review the Aston Villa game. It's two more drop points, and I think it wasn't just the two drop points. For me, it was as someone that I couldn't actually go to the game yesterday because of my injury. So I was watching the Liverpool game, and for me, it was like one of those swingy afternoons where Liverpool deserved to win anyway, but it was the context of I was watching that final few minutes. It was that gut punch, and then the way our game panned out. And yeah, I'm feeling very flat this morning. So looking forward to another therapy session. Feels like we're getting lots of therapy sessions this season. But with me to review the Aston Villa game is Bobby at Bobby Play. No, I always forget your Twitter handle.
Bobby Love FPL.
Bobby Love FPL. There it is. How are you feeling this morning?
Yeah, deflated as well. So I was in the house yesterday as well. I couldn't get down for the game, and yeah, just watching Liverpool scrape it back in extra time, added time to get 3 points, and then obviously us losing 3 points is just a very swingy day yesterday, and obviously the emotions go from could we be back in this to no, we're definitely out of it in a very short time. For just yeah, like I said, absolute good punch yesterday was.
Yeah, and I know before we actually click live, like I was saying, obviously how flat and empty I'm feeling. But you said you kind of had made peace with, well, not made peace, but I think in your head it was done already, right? So
yeah. After the to be fair, I probably went a bit early and ruled it out after the Bournemouth game. But
wow, back then,
yeah, but probably the Everton game. I think after that, I was just like, okay, this one draw too many already. I think I've said previously when you do count back to since Pep and Klopp came into the league, if you drop points in any more than 8 games in a title fight, it's pretty much done. You can't win it, and we're already well beyond that with the draws.
Yeah, and I do find it interesting in terms of like how this season we're kind of being judged and assessed, which we'll probably come on to later. But like I do think you're bang on in terms of that prime Liverpool under Klopp and City rivalry. Like the benchmark for points was absurd. Like that was the anomaly, not the norm when you look at the kind of 20 years of what you need to win a league. And I do feel like this season, the points tally that ends up winning the league is probably going to be more air quotes normal. Like I think Liverpool are going to go on and do it. Do I think they'll get what we got last season, 89? No. Do I think they'll get what we got the season before, which was 84? Probably. So I think it was something in between that 84, 89, which I think is more, again, air quotes, normal. But it's just frustrating because, yeah, this is the season that City obviously don't look like they're going to be in it. And I think, again, I said this to you before we went live, I can explain everything on why we are where we are. But it doesn't make it any easier to make peace with it because it feels like if everyone was fit, we'd probably be going and doing it. But everyone's not fit and we're putting up performances the way we are and we're dropping points the way we are. So let's get into it and talk about the things within our control and how the game panned out. I want to start with lineup. And I mean, it's an interesting conversation because when I say I want to talk about the lineup, like I'm not really sure what else we can be doing at the minute, but the lineup comes out and we obviously see the news of Saliba not being in and around the squad. He misses out with a hamstring. I saw that Arsenal tweeted it was a minor issue, but then Arteta said he was worried post-match, so one to keep an eye on. As a result, we shifted Partey to right back, Timber at centre back, and as a result, Marino came into midfield. Sterling gave way for Martinelli. Do you think, given the injuries, there's anything else we could have done? Sure, it's pure hindsight, but fuck it, go with hindsight. Is there anything you would have done differently?
Absolutely. We discussed it last time I was on the pod about Thomas Partey at right back. Obviously, we'll touch on it a bit more, but we shouldn't be square pegs, round holes. It should absolutely still be playing a defender in the back line, even if they're slightly wrong-footed. It'd be better than someone who's not. Yeah, Kivior at right centre back. We've done it before alongside Gabriel. Would have been probably a much better solution with Timber at right back than probably dropping that isn't a defender back in the defensive line.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got a different perspective on that. I'm not for once saying starting Partey at right back is the right decision, but just in terms of if I can like take the conversation in a different route, so it's not just focused on the outcome. And I know the outcome is a big thing in terms of his marking for that second goal. But when I think of what do we get with Kiwi right centre back versus Partey right back? Like, I think the thing that makes me nervous about Partey right back a lot is the idea of him. Well, defensively, he's not a defender, as we've seen on the second goal, but it's mostly the kind of him being isolated in wide areas. With Kiwi at right centre back, it's him being isolated and getting dragged out of position in 1v1s and stuff. And I don't know, I look at yesterday, and ironically, I think the times that Aston Villa actually looked like they were going to threaten us wasn't when Partey was isolated 1v1 in wide areas. It was when Villa would regain the ball, they'd play centrally, and Timber and Gabriel were getting, I wouldn't say dragged around a little bit, but I'd say Watkins made it uncomfortable for them.
Mhm.
I almost think Kivior would have been worse there had we done that. So again, it sounds weird. It's just a different perspective of, like, I don't think Partey at right back yesterday was isolated enough where I felt like the overall performance was detrimental to what happened. I think in isolation, he was absolutely at fault for that second goal, and that probably doesn't happen if Kivior is there. But overall, yeah, I don't know. It's I'm not sure Kivior there would have. I think, yeah, we wouldn't have conceded that second goal, but I think we probably would have got stretched even more through central areas, just because I don't know if you felt the same, but when Villa were getting the ball centrally and playing through us, I did feel uncomfortable and thought there were a couple of times where, especially Watkins, looked like he was going to go on and do something. But yeah, again, it's just frustrating though when White's out, Tomiyasu's out. Like, he is the fourth choice right back, and I hear where you're coming from in terms of just playing extra defender. So yeah, I do get it.
Yeah, I agree. The first half, I absolutely felt the only time Aston Villa threatened was when they were going long and trying to find Watkins on a break. I don't think Watkins ever, in the first half at least, ever won one of those 1v1 challenges. He obviously second half he got the goal, but I did think we managed it well in the first half, and that was the only time I felt nervous. But second half was a completely different story once they made a few changes and it felt a bit more open on the counter.
Yeah, and we'll talk through the events in a bit, which I think will kind of inform the discussion around the timeline of everything that happened. But just in terms, while we're on this graphic, just want to shout out some, well, not shout out, but talk about some individual players. In terms of a shout out, no, I actually thought I've been quite critical of Trossard this season. I thought he was pretty good yesterday, to be fair. I thought showed an element of intent, urgency, directness that I think we're lacking quite a bit. So I thought he was good. What was your thoughts on his performance?
Absolutely, I agree as well. So I'm going to be honest, hold my hands up. I'm going to say in group chats with friends and stuff, I've been absolutely screaming, I don't want to cross out on the pitch. He's stuck up the place the past few weeks, but I think when he came on, I can't remember who it was in the second half a couple of weeks ago, and then yesterday, he was the best player on the pitch. I felt like every time Trossard had the ball, we looked threatening. He was making the right decisions. He was either going down the outside and crossing back into the middle, or he was cutting inside and switching it well. And I can't remember where he made the wrong decision where we've gotten used to. And I think that's possibly coming from the fact he is actually getting a solid run of games in the team now, rather than rotating in and out with Martinelli. And I think even on the same thought, Martinelli looked good on the right hand side as well. And it feels like both of them are starting to find their feet in the team. I wouldn't say they're back to the fantastic best of 2 seasons ago, but they're definitely starting to get there. And I thought yesterday was one of the best attacking performances we've had this season. Just a shame the thing that we're best at defending wasn't off the same milk and hasn't been for the past few weeks either.
Yeah, that's interesting on the attacking performance. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a bit. Another player I want to. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Martinelli there. I thought, especially when Matson was on the pitch, I thought he was doing really, really well. And then I think I wouldn't say he faded, but I don't think his second half personally matched the first when they made that change. But yeah, still thought it was a good performance. No, we'll get on to Marino. Odegaard. I was disappointed with him.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was a really quiet performance. And this, again, there's so many different conversations to have at the minute. But in terms of our attacking patterns, like, I would like to see more diversification in what we do in the final third. And I get a lot of it is probably going to be externally influenced in terms of what we can bring in from outside through the transfer market. But it's another game where Odegaard just, I feel like, didn't do enough for me. How did you assess his performance?
Yeah, I thought it was weird, wasn't it? So against Tottenham, he was fantastic, best player on the pitch. Obviously pulled the strings, and then yesterday he felt like he got swamped. He couldn't make the right pass, so he was having to turn back to pass backwards in order to find a bit of space on the wing to play his usual out ball. But yeah, I agree. I think the attacking patterns possibly stifle what he's best at and what he has been best at in the team. I was watching yesterday and I was thinking, when we attack, it feels like we're playing a game of Subbuteo, where we're pushing all of our players up the pitch, and then it's their turn to get their players set, and then we're going to do our attack.
Yeah,
And that feels very much tactical and coached. I know I've seen on Twitter the past couple of weeks where people are showing clips of Odegaard getting a break, players then pressing him and he's just turning back and playing backwards. But I think that's very much, it must be a coach thing because it's happening so often. And I was watching yesterday, it's not just Odegaard doing it. We're all waiting for all of our players to get forward, but at the same time, it's allowing them to get set into their deep block. And it feels like we've lost that. Just nothing's going central and nothing's going quick. And everything feels like
so
we're going
wide
too side to side. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that point you just made about the Subbuteo thing. Like that, yeah, you've basically explained something that I've had in my head but never known how to put into words. Like this Arsenal side, it's exactly that. It feels like we wait for everything to be perfect to then start a move. And I don't know, even like we're such a good team at winning the ball high and regaining the ball, but it feels like we rarely actually take advantage of it and fully punish it. Like
Mhm.
against Spurs, there was one where I think Havertz won it and then tried to play it into Sterling or vice versa. A similar thing happened yesterday. I forgot the exact moment, but we won the ball quite high up. Didn't really look to capitalize on it. But I'm going to combine with what you said with something that Clive from the Arsenal Vision Pod has said before, where it's basically the same thing about like if you wait for the opposition. No, sorry. If you wait for everyone on our side to get into position, you can then attack from like the optimal position, right? But it's exactly what you just said. It also gives the opposition the chance to set up perfectly. So I don't get it. Like, sure, you can set up yourself to defend everything proactively, but you're also then reducing your ability to create overloads. And I think
Mhm.
that is a lot of what football is. And I feel like the last 2 years watching this Arsenal side under Arteta, the one thing I've loved about us in an attacking sense is our ability to look like we have an extra player in different areas. I feel like we've completely lost that. And I don't know if there is too much of an emphasis on waiting for the perfect moment, everyone to be in the right position to attack.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely share that with you.
Liverpool's second goal yesterday, where they go through 3-on-4, we don't score that. We get to where I can't remember who it was that played the pass to Nunes, but we get to the edge
Trent?
of the box.
Oh no.
The
Oh,
second
the
goal,
second goal. No, sorry, I can't
yeah,
remember
can't
either.
remember his name. But
Was it
we probably
Kidd?
get to. It was the young midfielder. I can't
Oh, Elliot. Sorry.
Elliot, yeah. So we probably get to where he is with Odegaard, and then he probably turns back because there's only three players around and waiting for the rest to catch up. And I say I have no problem with the amount of control we exert on games. I think it gives us a much better chance of obviously strangling the opponent and stuff like that. But it's lost a lot of the excitement that we got used to.
Yeah, big time. And the one extra thing I want to say on that is I think we are far too comfortable playing outside the block that opposition teams deploy. Like
Mhm.
way too comfortable with it. I think you spoke there about the kind of avoiding central areas, going side to side. Like we lack incisiveness, it feels like. Way too comfortable getting the ball in the half space, circulating it around like that kind of horseshoe. And I think Odegaard is central to that sometimes. Like you said, against Spurs, he was fantastic, but there's certain game states, especially without Saka, where like, is he providing enough value? Like, forget the name on his shirt, forget the armband on the side of his sleeve. Like, just analyzing what he's giving us in specific game states. Like yesterday, I'm like, if we had another option, I would have hooked him. But we don't have another option. So yeah, really frustrating from him. Just shout out a couple of the guys in the chat. Uncle Mike's in as always. Morning, lads. Hope you're good, mate. And Lee Jackson's in, the Aston Villa Planet FPL correspondent who did the preview with us on Friday. Yeah, well played yesterday, Lee. He says, morning, gents. I didn't see the game yesterday as I was out and about, so interested to hear your thoughts. I hope the Wi-Fi holds up today, Clayton. Well, thanks for jinxing it. But yeah, let us know what you think of our thoughts as we go on, Lee. I'm conscious you've not seen the game, but I'm sure you've seen the highlights and the kind of Villa perspective from your kind of echo chamber. So yeah, feel free to share that and what the mood is amongst the Villa fans. But yeah, bring it back to Arsenal. Yeah, I really like the point you make there. I'm interested though, because despite all of that, what made you feel like this was kind of one of our best attacking performances of the season then?
Just for Villa sitting with, I actually counted it in the first half, they were sitting with a 7-man line on the edge of the box.
Yeah.
And they were still, so they were playing, I think it was obviously the keeper, a line of 7, then 3, and then Watkins ahead of that. I know, line of 7, 2, and then Watkins ahead of that. But we were still finding enough in the way of space and opportunity to go. And like I say, the two wide lads were both selecting the right option when they were getting some space. They were cutting it back well, or they were crossing it in well. And I felt like despite coming up with a very deep block with an aggressive defensive line, we were still finding opportunities. And that's something we have struggled with before. And like I say, it probably helps that they both had found form in the same game. So yeah, compared to what we'd gotten used to, like say, against the two draws against Everton and Brighton, but we didn't look like we had any answer. I did think a goal was coming yesterday. I didn't think, right, we're not going to score here today, which has been one of the negative things that we've probably had over the past few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. No, fair play. And one player I do want to talk about before we actually go through and talk about the kind of events, the way everything unfolded and dissecting the goals and stuff is Mikel Merino. Like, I learnt my lesson, I think, from Kai Havertz, where I'll be totally transparent. I did not like his first few months at the club, but a lot of that was assessing him against him in the left 8 position. And I still maintain I don't think he was good for the first few months. But having seen how he changed my opinion on him, I've been quite conscious to not go to extremes with players. But Mikel Merino, I don't get what he brings to the side, if I'm being honest right now. It's I can see the logic. I can see him being useful in game states. I can see him being useful in big games in the Champions League. But to be honest, when I saw Saliba wasn't in the lineup, when I saw Partey at right back, I then tried to justify to myself, oh, maybe this isn't the worst game for Merino. You know, the Jules, Villa, like very energetic midfield. I thought he was awful. I thought he was absolutely awful. I think he doesn't do enough. One thing I've said in group chats, and like a lot of this is when I'm very emotional in the heat of a game. Feels like he miskicks the ball a lot. Like even he got one opportunity-ish on the inside of the box and like tried to curl it, and he just doesn't seem like that kind of person to me where he's actually going to ever technically hit the ball cleanly, and like it went quite clear wide. There's been a few moments in the last few games where he's tried to clear the ball and he's completely scuffed it, and like maybe it feels like I'm really picking on him, but I'm frustrated with what he's adding to the team. But do you think I'm being harsh? Where's your head on him?
No, I think he's a very anonymous player if you're not particularly looking for what he's doing. But I think he does a job. He doesn't do it terrible, so you don't really notice massive mistakes, but you can't really tell what additional qualities he's bringing to the team. And I think for that position, we really could do with a shadow striker so we can go into a 4-4-2 at times, depending on the shape of the opposition, or we can do with an additional creative player to go along with Odegaard so that we can possibly find a bit more space. It just feels like the qualities he brings doesn't really elevate what with the rest of the 10 on the pitch. Yeah, we're obviously hoping he would be a Xhaka type player, and he's just not.
He's more Fellaini, isn't he? He's like,
yeah.
I think even that, like we speak about the kind of we purposely ignore central areas, we go wide. I think a lot of the logic was get it wide, get crosses into this guy that crashes the box and this and that, and he does it. And like, he does make good runs into the box. But yeah, I'm gonna hold my hand up. A lot of this is me analyzing him against someone he's not. Just because I think we need someone different. And again, like I kind of get the logic behind it. In the summer, like if Partey was injured, which we all would have expected, Rice would have gone into the 6 as he did yesterday. Then who would we have had playing left 8? So we needed to get one. It's just that profile doesn't feel one that's going to kind of take us up again. Mike's got a really good point in the chat. Don't think he's had the opportunity to build any relationships within a settled side. Like, yeah, spot on. And Simon said the same when he was on last week, where he was listening to the overlap and the players were talking about how hard it is when you miss a preseason and to get in. So I do get it. It was a game yesterday that I thought passed him by and could have extracted more from him, as well as Odegaard. But one player that I thought can actually hold his head up high was Declan Rice. I thought he was very good again. Feels like the last few games he's kind of growing into himself and showing himself to be that kind of all-action midfielder. How did you think he got on?
Oh yeah, you can tell he's definitely, whatever injury he was carrying or whatever it was throughout November and December, you can tell he's shaking that off. He's had a bit of a rest and he's definitely back to his best. And it looks like he's learning that role on the left side of the midfield as well. And you can tell he's grown into that position. And even just the difference it makes just having him on the corners from that left side instead of Martinelli, it just makes a world of difference having a player of Declan Rice in that team.
Yeah, 100%. And Mike's got another one on Marino, actually. Yeah, he hit the post and scored, air quotes, the winner. I don't know. Agree on the moments, just think in the all-round game needs to be doing more for me. But on that, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. The disallowed goal at the final, at the end. Do you agree with it? Because for me, it's not a debate. Like, it's a clear handball. But
yeah. So at the time when it was shown on TV, they only showed the one replay. So I celebrated. I lived in a downstairs flat, and I probably celebrated a bit too loud for the upstairs neighbours. But then obviously they showed it back, and on the quick viewing we got, and I'm presuming it's what they showed in the stadium as well, it looked like it hit his stomach, and it wasn't until a good 30, 40 minutes on after the game, until I'd seen it on Twitter, that I could see, quite clearly it hits his left hand, and it goes in. So, and I don't think Havertz really can do anything about getting his hand out of the way either. It's just one of them where you can't blame him. Probably if Havertz isn't there, clips off Mings and goes in, but his hand's on his body, he's trying to get out of the way and it just clips him. So it's just a shame. We deserved the 3 points yesterday, but yeah, just
do you think that's interesting? I don't know. I thought a draw was a fair result, but I agree in terms of how I lived through that period. I was the exact same as you. When I first saw it, it was like, eh? And saw the Sky replays, was like, eh? And then as I saw it back afterwards, I'll flip it out, like, fair play. Yeah, good call. But yeah, let's go through the game. And I want to get your opinion on, as I really feel like this was a game of like different sections of momentum. So like prior to the first goal, I want to get your headspace on how you were feeling, because I thought it was a bit drab. Personally, I thought it was very stop-start, like not stop-start, just I don't know. It felt like we lacked a level of urgency and tempo in the phases. And again, I felt like we were too comfortable playing between Timber, Gabriel, and that first phase. Whereas against Tottenham, I felt like there was a real intent to move the ball through the thirds a bit quicker. But again, like that's my perspective. How did you feel prior to the goal?
I think the first 10 minutes we started very well. The first 10 minutes felt like a continuation of the Tottenham game, where we were trying to go direct, trying to cut through and try and create an opportunity, and Villa just didn't have an answer for that. And I thought, right, we really need to do what we're very good at getting a goal or two within the first 10, 15 minutes, and then sitting back into what we do well and controlling the game. But we just didn't. I don't think we actually ended up with anything clear-cut in the way of opportunities in that 10 minutes, but we were dominant. Is probably a bit too much of a powerful word to use there, but we're very comfortable that first 10 minutes, and we did look like we had something about us. Then Villa kind of came back into the game, and we controlled the first half without a huge amount of clear opportunities, but I did think throughout that first half, something's coming. We're probably going to get a goal in this half. And as I said earlier, the only time I felt Villa had anything is when they got the ball at the edge of the box, or when Martinez had claimed the ball when they were going long to Watkins and trying to get him on a 1v1 against whichever centre back was back at the time. But thankfully, the ball kind of always just bounced to Gabriel or spun the right direction for us. So I thought the first half was very comfortable, and obviously Martin started and Martinelli just had him on ice for a lot of that first half. He got the booking, and it just felt like, yeah, we're just going to target you. We know you're the weakness here, and we're going to get some joy from your side of the pitch.
Yeah, no, you're bang on actually about the first 10 minutes. Yeah, that was a really encouraging start. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah, this is going to be our game. I can't remember when the period was, but I remember after that 10 minutes, but before the first goal, feeling like there was an element where we dropped off a little bit, but I can't really remember when that was. But anyway, we then got that goal. Yeah, great ball from Trossard and really nice movement from Martinelli as well to come from kind of behind to in front of Maatsen. I was nervous. I was like, oh, has it crossed the line? But it did. And yeah, at 1-0, I'm then thinking, okay, this is going to be the day, surely. And then, yeah, how did you feel like we managed it from there until halftime?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think we're done well. I can't really, I think Villa hit the crossbar, didn't they? But I think other than that, I can't really remember an opportunity where it felt like they were going to score or they had any clear-cut opportunities in the first half. Yeah, and I definitely felt like Martinez had one of his bad games that really
I thought he was quite suspect for both goals, to be honest.
Yeah, which I think he has them games, doesn't he? I think he's either very safe or he's very sloppy, and thankfully we came up against him when he's usually very good against us and he pulls his best performances when he plays us, but yesterday was definitely one that swung in our favour.
Yeah, and then second goal, I was happy with who it fell to because I think, yeah, we've spoken a lot about the crap that Havertz has had to deal with, but at 2-0 again, like really good from Trossard, gets the cross in, and I mean Havertz just gets contact with it. It's straight at Martinez, but it goes in, and at 2-0, I'm thinking flipping, oh yeah, like this is game done, and then literally 5 minutes after, where are you at on the goal? I think a lot's been made of the end. Okay, so I'll get my thing out of the way first. And this is where I feel like I'm contradicting myself a lot today. But as much as I thought Marino was disappointing in this game, I don't fault him as much as the general analysis for that goal. I think it's one of them when you're sat down watching it, it's like it's easy to point on, okay, Tielemans is his man, therefore you got to get him. But I think when you actually play football, when someone is the other side of you, it's so hard to get that momentum to stop them running, but also stay ahead of the ball when you're the defender. I think it's so much, I can't explain why, but when you're the attacker going for the ball, it's so much easier than when you're the defender trying to stop the attacker getting there. And I thought he tracked the run, just was a yard too short. But I'm not saying he's completely scot-free for that, but I thought people were quite harsh on him personally for that. And I think it's one of them where I just look at it as like, great cross, great header, like shit happens.
So this is where I'm going to start my rant about the player that was right back.
Go on.
So whilst a lot was made of Marino, obviously being outpowered by Watkins in the middle, if you watch the cross ball beforehand to Digne, it takes Thomas Partey a very long time to start moving from the edge of the box out to Digne. And I'm just watching the replay now, and even then he's still a good 7-8 yards off Digne before Digne gets the ball in. And I think a proper right back in that position
stops
as the cross closed down, or forces him to run down the outside and gives us a bit more of a chance to get settled inside the box. And I think just a lack of urgency by Partey to get out and close Digne down was probably just as much to blame, if not more, than Marino losing that battle to Watkins in the middle. And I just, and I think from there, Villa then realised actually Arsenal's right-hand side is where we should be targeting, and that's exactly what happens for the rest of the game for them to go on and then equalise.
Yeah, and there's been moments like that with Partey where it always feels like he's 2-3 yards behind where he needs to be. I think there was a clip doing the round from the Spurs game where one of the Spurs players had a shot on the edge of the box, but Partey had almost sat back into the back line and was kind of.
I've watched that. Yeah, I've seen that same clip where he should be in the defensive midfield position just in front of Gabriel and Saliba, and somehow he's the deepest defender, leaving that space open. And I think if you watch a few more clips, he is that. He's dropping too deep, or he's just not setting the right position to close it down. And as much as everyone's like Thomas is our best midfielder, he's the one that can play the forward balls the best. I think we're sacrificing a lot defensively, and it's because we've got Gabriel and Saliba there where we can absorb it, and it probably really isn't helping us defensively when we're struggling attacking wise to have, I don't want to say a passenger because he's not, he's been very good, but someone that's meant to be a defensive midfielder and not helping in the defensive positions.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then, I mean, I'm just going to give this to you then. Second goal, take it away.
Can I swear?
Of course you can swear, yeah. Just don't say the C word.
How do you have a player on your shoulder, touch tight to him, for you to watch a cross come in from the right-hand side to you run towards the edge of the box and watch your man run behind you and then be shocked he's been clear and heading it in the net? It's school kid defending. Stay with your man. Yes, you're not the one playing him on side, but you've got to keep with your man. You don't know what's going to happen in the middle. If it could end up pinballing about, and you need to be set in position to clear that ball. You shouldn't be running out trying to play in an offside trap. I can only presume that's what he's doing because the ball's already left that foot. You're too late to play that offside trap, and it's just awful defending. And it's just anyone can do better in that position and should be doing better.
Yeah, it's genuinely, you've hit it's schoolboy defending. I don't even think he's trying to play an offside trap. I think a lot of it is, especially as a midfielder, when you're defending set pieces, the instinct in you is as soon as your defenders win the ball, you step up. And I almost think he's just in his brain defaulted to, our defenders win the ball, I'll step up. And I mean, it's ludicrous. Like, I remember once when I was playing 11 aside, like when I was a lot younger, we set this idea that we were defending a set piece. There was a free kick and we were all just going to step up and play them offside. And one guy just forgot. And it just felt a bit like that. There was one guy that was just not on the wavelength, but it's absolute amateur defending. And yeah, I think to be 2-0 up and then concede 2 within, 8 minutes or so? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. Once that happened, I don't know. I think a lot of this was probably outcome bias for me, but I was going to say I didn't feel like we were going to score, but that's a lie. Because when Trossard got in, I thought, okay, that's a good chance. Like, we did have the ball in the back of the net. Granted, it was a handball, but it's just one of them. I think with how flagged we look at the minute, and this is what Mike kind of alludes to as well. The question is, do we think the fact it's our 6th game already, 6th game in what time span? What, in the new year? Do we think it's the fact it's our 6th game already that we are lacking that defensive sharpness and switching off for split seconds and ultimately getting punished? Trossard, same with the second. Same with the second.
Yeah, Trossard was slow to close down. Cash as well. You can watch him, yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a contributing factor, 100%. Like, I don't want to be that guy that keeps using injuries as an excuse, but I think the players look fucked. Like, mm-hmm. I think the 2 goals, like you've explained there with Partey, yeah, like we can definitely, there are things in our control that we can do better, but I think it's also a factor of they're absolutely on their arse. Like, and even Odegaard, like I said with Simon last week, like at full time against Spurs, he fell to his backside straight away, like he was on his arse. And I do think that defensive sharpness plays. I think the lack of freshness plays a part with defensive sharpness, 100%. Because I think if you're able to rotate in the likes of Tomiyasu, White, even like Calafiori in a game like this could have been useful just to give us that element of unpredictability, dragging someone through the final third. Like Miles Lewis-Skelly, like he was good yesterday, but we wouldn't have wanted to be relying on an 18-year-old at left back. Like, we would want to phase him in, have him in and out of certain games. Mike said even Havertz, 120 against United, 90 against Spurs, 90 yesterday. Yeah, like I think that even the miss against United, I kind of look at that as, when you're just you're physically fatigued, it affects you mentally in the way you hit the ball with contact. And I thought that against Man United in that. But yeah, I do think these players are on their arse, and it's the inability to rotate them that is causing things like this, as well as there being things in our control. But where are you at?
Yeah, I think it's just using a term that you've used before. It's just we don't have the finishers on the bench now, and that's what's really affecting us. So you looked at Liverpool's bench yesterday, and you watched them bring on Nunes. Obviously, Jota was out again, but they've got those players of that quality that can not necessarily start the game, but once they come on, they're fresh-legged and they're just going to start an absolute new wave of pressure to get the attack in, and they're very good at it, and they've done very well to obviously recover from the injury problems they had last season to keep them all fit this season and now benefit from it. And that's our problem. You look at our bench yesterday, we had Sterling, whose obviously articles were coming out yesterday before the game that was saying he's devoid of confidence and that's why he looks off it. And having those articles come out before a game where he's benched is then not going to help the issue again either. So it's just, it makes a world of difference that basically the players that we're starting the game with, we're having to finish with and then start the next game with. And you can even tell Arteta's sick of it as well. I've never seen him so vocal in press conferences about buying players. He usually just says, I don't talk about other players. That's for other, that's someone else's job at the club. But now he's actually saying, yeah, we need to get someone in. The team needs something different. It's the first time I can remember in years that he's been this vocal about signing anyone.
Yeah, me too. And Mike said it as well. Arteta said it. Subs he's making are not for tactical reason. And even on Liverpool, you bang on. Like their subs, the offensive subs they made were Nunes, Jones, Elliott, Chiesa. Like that's 4 midfielders, attackers there to completely change the dynamics. We don't have the ability to do that right now. We don't. What would we have liked to do yesterday? A Jesus, a Saka, like
Ethan,
like we don't have them right now. And even one thing I want to look at as well with Liverpool is in terms of what we've said about the sharpness. Like they rotated Tsimikas in for Robertson yesterday. Like the ability to be able to do that as well and maintain freshness, and then bring on Robertson in the 65 minutes to give you a different dimension. Like that, I know they're fullbacks, so people don't associate them with offensive play, but it makes a difference. Imagine what difference it would make having Ben White overlapping in periods where we look like we're stifled in the final third. Like it creates and stretches the opposition. And yeah, the fact that, I mean, I'm looking at our bench from yesterday. I mean, we all joked about Kieran Tierney coming on and Zinchenko holding the left flank against Tottenham, but literally the bench yesterday, in terms of, we had one midfielder in Jorginho, and then we had Raheem Sterling, who you mentioned already, who came on, and then 2 youngsters from the academy in attack. And then the rest was Zinchenko, another young defender, Kieran Tierney and Gabriel. Like,
so just to make a point, everyone that was on our bench is either in our youth squad or is rumoured to not be at the club next season.
Yeah.
They're not players that are going to level us up when they come on the field or be game changers or finishers. These are players that are obviously already looking for more minutes elsewhere or looking to break into the team. And for us to be challenging for titles or trophies with that kind of bench is just not realistic at this point. And obviously the players that would be doing that are all currently out or they're on the pitch because the players that are ahead of them are out at the moment.
And this is where it's an interesting one in terms of like expectations and stuff. Like prior to the season, the expectation was to challenge and try win the league, right? But at what point does it get to you have to assess what's available to you and what's realistic? Because I think if the season started now, let's just say, forget we own a Bukayo Saka, forget we own a Gabriel Jesus, forget we own an Ethan Nwaneri, forget we own a Ben White, like, everyone that's out, forget that they're available, or just pretend they're not going to be available for a while. With that squad available, starting match day 1, I think people would be saying, yeah, that squad, forgetting everything that we've seen this Arsenal team capable of, they'd probably be saying, yeah, that team is probably what, Europa League? Like going for top 6?
Top 4 should be the challenge. Yeah. Maybe it's a cup run. Yeah.
Like, so I'm trying to think to my head, at what point does it get to a point where you're just like, with what's available, this is what the level is. Like dropping points at home to Villa, it pisses me off. But, and there, yeah, you've explained very well what we could have done better on the 2 goals and who's at fault for it. But just like with what's available right now, I don't know. Like my expectations aren't that this squad is capable of challenging for the league, and it's nothing to do with the manager. It's what's available. And even like in terms of speaking about the attacking um, intent and the attacking style of play and the patterns, like I think with everyone fit, I've got no doubt in our ability to go on and wipe the floor with a lot of the league. And I still think with everyone fit, we need a certain profile forward to add to the attacking group anyway. We're lacking that kind of variability, but I don't think the need for that variability is as obvious when everyone's fit and available. I think it's right now where we're on the floor with what's available. So it's a shit one. But again, I'm like, I've recalibrated my expectations, but I don't know what to say to people that still expect us to challenge for the league with what's available. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I say, I'd given up on the league already. I'd kind of made peace that it's probably one step too far this season, but absolutely hope by the end of the season we are within 5-6 points of Liverpool. Just accepting that it was done too early for us when everyone's back fit, but we absolutely need to be. I mean, yeah, we can't wait for the end of this window to drop further away and possibly be then in a top 4 fight. We're only 3-4 points ahead of a cluster of teams that are all fighting over 4th and 5th at the moment. So I don't want us to end up in a position where we're short and then too short to even get top 4. We need to be. I mean, I'm not worried that it's going to happen, but
No,
whatever plans we had for the summer, if it's going to cost us 15-20 million more now, I think that money's going to be made up, and any prize money we get from whatever we do this season, we just need to be spending that. We needed an additional left winger. We needed a striker at a minimum. Bring one of them in, hopefully both of them in, and make sure we've got some depth whilst we're missing some players until the end of the season.
To lift the mood, Pontus is in with "We are still in it." Good morning, lads. Good morning, mate.
Glad someone's got some confidence.
Yeah, well,
we'll be celebrating with you, Pontus, at the end of the season if it happens.
Uncle Mike says that's the spirit. You've obviously tuned in now, so if that's your mood, I wouldn't go back to the start. I would just stick with it as it is right now, because yeah, let's just say I don't think the two of us are in the same headspace. But yeah, one thing he says, which is similar to you though, stay close and wait / hope for Liverpool to fall off. And I think this is the thing, like, this Liverpool team will drop points. I've got no doubt in my mind. I think they're very good offensively, but they will concede chances.
They can be got us.
Yeah,
and they showed that.
Absolutely. I just don't think with what we've got available right now, we have enough to go on and win games. I can see not a lot. I can see a few more drop points for Arsenal as well, in the form of a couple of losses and draws here and there, which is what annoys me. But that's only with what's available. Again, like, I'm not talking about a squad availability of that should be title challengers. I'm talking about a squad availability that's missing 3 forwards in Saka, Jesus, Waneri. The defensive injuries are a joke, which is causing us to have to play everyone into the ground as well. So again, it sounds like excuses to people, but I'm like, in my simple head, how can these not be used as explanations for what's going on? And I've said this before, I don't think any other team would be expected to challenge for the league in the same circumstances, which speaks to the level that our coach is at.
If you tell Liverpool that they'll have no Salah, they'll have no Jota at back up Diaz, and you'll have to play the full 90 minutes, they'll be playing Szoboszlai at right back, and a kid from the academy at left back. They'll be saying, well, we're probably going to drop some points and it's going to be tough to win the league. So I think having that level head and understanding that circumstances aren't great, we could be doing better with what we have, but there is other factors which are dictating how good of a season we can have compared to what the goals were at the start of the season. It's really just maintaining a level head and understanding, there's reasons, but they're not excuses at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that this is the one thing that worries me, though, in terms of, I feel like we're in the minority when we talk from that perspective, whereas I feel like a lot of people are just like, the objective was to win the league, we're not winning the league. Therefore, Arteta out. And I know that's a very extreme narrative that I've painted there, but I do think there are people that will fall into that camp. And I worry. I really worry, because I don't doubt our ability to put together a title challenge with everyone fit, and not even everyone fit, just not the severity of injuries. You're going to have injuries in a season, but it's like when it gets to the point where your second choice right back can't play at right back, your third choice is injured, you're having to talk about playing your fourth choice. Your first choice left back arguably isn't there. The only, in my opinion, world-class attacker isn't available. I'm like, I think there's one thing having 1 to 3 injuries here or there, but then it's the severity and the domino effect that I think is just absolutely handicapped what we're capable of for me. And this is where I'm at as well with what Pontus says. The fact we are this close shows how high our floor is. That's it. Like, I mean, it can be debate. Is it as extreme as what Liverpool had when they finished 5th with 67 points? I don't know, but like, because they were having to play absolute mugs at centre back.
They were having to sign 2 centre backs in the January window that were sold the next window, weren't they? So yeah, it's
But
probably
they completely fell off, right? And like, look at City this season. Like, they've had bad injuries as well, but look, that no one's talking about them still being able to win it. So I do think this shows how high our floor is, and I still think the ceiling is there to. I don't think we have a ceiling still. I really think adding a top class attacker will be transformational for this group and almost add another dimension to the attack, but. It's just hard. It's really, like I said at the start, it's really hard to be able to sit through this season and kind of accept what's happening while being able to understand and explain it.
hard to palate, but we'll have to.
Yeah, just a final thing before we kind of wrap up and get out of here is just bring it back to the game. Like, obviously, we spoke about the second goal and the mood, but at the end, oh my God, when the goal went in, it was disallowed, and then the Trossard chance, like Arteta on the side. I mean, his emotion and body language felt like it spoke for all of us. How were you feeling in that minute?
Yeah, it looked like he was actually about to shed a tear, didn't he, when he was on his knees? But yeah, you can tell he's a fan at the same time. He's feeling the same emotions we are as he's watching the game. Obviously, he's coaching a win. He's trying to get the best out of the players he's got, but then watching the variant score swing out of his control. Obviously, it's probably harder to take as the coach than it is a fan when with all the additional emotions and knowing what's going on behind the scenes as well. So, yeah, he's feeling the same things we are, which is good to see. He's got all of the love we do for the club.
Yeah, exactly. And just final couple things before we get out of here. If you're live in the chat and you've got any questions for Bobby or I before we get out of here, we'll look to wrap up in the next 5-10 minutes. So whack them in. If you're listening back and you've got any thoughts you want to share, whack them in the comments. Let us know if we're miles off it, if you disagree, or if you share a similar perspective. But attention obviously turns to Wednesday. And I think this is where, for me, the squad availability is killing us, because against Zagreb at home, where we're third in the Champions League, we've got 2 games left, we're on 13 points, Zagreb are 24th. This is a game where we would rotate if we had a fully fit squad. This is the game where Zinchenko plays, which he probably will anyway. Tomiyasu would play, Waneri would play. Could we give Odegaard a breather here? Could we give the likes of Jesus, Sterling a run out? But like, even the likes of Timber, he needs a rest. Who are we going to play instead? Like, this is the frustration for me. And I think this is where I think these things take a toll and we might see a knock-on impact for Wolves. But yeah, hopefully, can we get a signing in before Wednesday? I hope so, but not too sure. But yeah, in terms of Wednesday, do you think it's one of them where we just have to go and play?
I think we just have to go wrap that up in the first half so we can take foot off the pedal in the second half and possibly bring in the likes of Maldini or Heaven off the bench and just give a couple of those youngsters some minutes so that we can just rotate a few of the first teamers out a little bit. But we'll win on Wednesday.
Sorry, go on.
We'll win on Wednesday. We'll probably all through in the top 8 in the Champions League format. So just get that result over the line and then focus on the next game.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's 3 points separating us in third and Club Brugge in 19th on 10 points. Absolutely wild. But I've not looked at the other fixtures. I'm sure there's a lot of teams bunched up in between 4th and 18th and 19th that will be playing each other. But the one thing I was going to ask, I've not seen if there was a timeline update on Saliba. I know Arteta said he was worried, but...
He said there was some additional scans, but from what the club statement was, it's probably just a minor injury. And I think at this point, with the games we've got in the next few weeks, I don't want to see him in any team before City.
So what's that? Zagreb Wolves and then
Zagreb, Wolves, and then there's
Girona.
Girona, and then I believe is there another game in between that? Yeah, Zagreb, Wolves, Girona. So absolutely, he should not be in the team at earliest against City, and then it's City, Newcastle. So hopefully he's back for both of those games. They're both massive in their own right.
Yeah, I like what you say about how to approach the game on Wednesday as well, to be fair, because the game being yesterday on Saturday, like we've got all of today, Sunday, all of Monday, all of Tuesday to recover. Then, like you say, go out, try get 3-0 up, and then bring the likes of Maldini on, bring on flipping Cabia, bring on a couple of the academy boys. I definitely think this is. I wonder if this is a game where we see Luis Skelly in midfield, like get Zinchenko, like because Zinchenko is someone that feels like he should be playing. I wonder if we see Tierney. This is where it's a bit annoying. We've got 2 free left backs. We kind of need someone to be able to play right back.
We could even see Zinchenko in the midfield as well. Maybe it's two left backs at defensive mid and
possibly
right hand party.
Kieran Tierney, Gareth Bale
Left
reincarnation.
Yeah.
As Pontus says, 1 to 2 rotations in the 11 and try and go and kill off the game in the first half with early subs. Yeah, in agreement. This was needed as always. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great stuff from you there. Nice to get your perspective. Like good stuff on the goals as well. It's frustrating one, but I don't know. Like, where's your head at in terms of what the expectations are now for you personally for the season?
At this point, it's just see out the season, finish second, see how close we can get to Liverpool. I mean, if they do have any drop off, which is results wise, they don't look like happening, but I think performance wise, they do look like there's going to be the odd hiccup there for them. Just make sure we're close enough to capitalize on any drop in form that they have. And really, if it is looking out of hands, try to get to a Champions League semi-final, maybe edge a bit further, see who we can get in the door this month and try and just go all out in whichever games are the most important, basically.
Yeah, never say never in a cup competition. We've seen weird teams, weird shit happen in the Champions League. Bobby, pleasure as always. Thanks for jumping on. If you've enjoyed this episode, please drop the stream a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes, and give it a 5-star review on podcasts. And always say, especially for a kind of fan-led channel the size of ours, word of mouth goes a long way. So if you've got any Gooner mates that need their therapy or feel like they need a safe space to rant and vent their opinions, we're here for you. Bobby, thanks as always. We'll be back on Friday, I think, to review Zagreb and preview Wolves. Bobby, thanks again. Cheers everyone for joining. Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.